They say death comes like a thief in the night. Mine showed up on a Tuesday. My name is Nathan Holloway, I'm 35, and I used to think I had everything figured out. I lived in Boise, Idaho, middle of nowhere, but peaceful. A 2-story home with peeling white paint, a job doing remote IT support for a logistics company out in Pennsylvania, and a golden retriever named Winston who probably loved me more than I loved myself. It wasn't that I was unhappy. It was that I didn't feel anything. Life had become administrative. Wake, coffee, laptop, screen, lunch, screen, screen, screen. Smile at neighbors, don't ask too many questions. Take out trash. Don't think too deeply. Everything was neat, safe, silent. Until I started seeing the sky split. It began 3 days before the accident. I was out back throwing a stick for Winston when I noticed something off. A thin, vertical line above the treetops. Not like a cloud. No texture, no depth. Just a faint crack, the way an old windshield looks right before it shatters. It shimmered slightly, like heat rising off asphalt. I blinked. Gone. You ever get that feeling, like reality hiccuped? That second where everything should be normal but it just isn't? I chalked it up to exhaustion. I hadn't been sleeping well. Nightmares I couldn't remember, only the residue of them. Cold sweat on my spine. The taste of copper in my mouth. I started waking up at 3:33 a.m. like clockwork. Every time. Digital red. Mocking. On the third night, I had a dream I didn't forget. In it, I was standing in a vast wheat field under a sky the color of dried blood. The sun was too big, too close. It wasn't warm, it was watching, like an eye boiling with judgment. And in the distance, something was moving through the wheat. Tall, inhuman, limbs too long, head tilted sideways like a marionette caught mid-twitch. I couldn't see its face, but I knew it saw mine. I woke up gasping, nails dug into my palms. I tried to rationalize it. Stress. Work. Maybe even a brain tumor. I looked up symptoms. Visual distortions? Check. Sleep issues? Check. Existential dread crawling up your spine like a snake made of needles? Check, check, check. But then came the voice. Not outside. Inside. Like thought, but louder. They suffer because they remember. That's all it said. Clear as day. I don't know who they are. I didn't then. But I knew the message wasn't mine. It didn't feel like me. It had gravity to it. And after that night, I stopped trying to sleep. I stayed up watching the crack in the sky. It was back, more visible now. Wider. Faint gold light leaking through it, like the rim of a door not fully closed. One night, I swear I saw something move on the other side. Not a bird. Not a plane. It twitched. And then, finally, came Tuesday. I was driving to the grocery store, nothing special. Overcast sky, early April chill. There's this overpass near State Street, the kind you forget the second you pass it. Except this time, I didn't. Because as I went under it, everything stopped. Not just my car, everything. The birds, the wind, even the sound of the engine. I wasn't driving anymore. I was floating. Not up, not down, just away. And then I saw him. Not a man. Not an angel. Not anything I had a name for. He was made of light, but not warm light. Heavy light. Light that pinned you down, peeled you open, made you look at yourself. He didn't speak. But I heard him all the same. You are not ready for the answer. But you will be. I tried to move. Tried to scream. I couldn't. Because in that moment, I knew what I had seen through the crack in the sky wasn't something. It was someone. And he had been watching me long before I ever noticed him. I woke up in the wreckage. Not metaphorically. Literally. Glass in my hair, the smell of gasoline sharp in my nose. The airbag had exploded, but it felt like someone had punched me in the chest with God's own fist. My ears were ringing, no, not ringing. Buzzing. Like wires under skin. like a hive behind my eyes. People say your life flashes before your eyes. That's a lie. What flashes is your pretending. Every smile you faked. Every time you said, "I'm fine," when you were breaking. Every moment you swallowed your own truth just to stay likable. That's what death shows you. Not your wedding, not your childhood. The mask. The hollow. But here's the thing, I didn't die. At least not entirely. EMTs pulled me out. Broken collarbone, 3 fractured ribs, mild concussion. They said I was lucky, that I should be dead. But I was. Some part of me stayed behind. In that place under the overpass. In that frozen second when the world cracked open and something ancient looked back. Something that knew my name before I had one. The hospital was a blur. Beeping machines. Pale walls. Nurses with tired eyes and fake cheer. But at night, the buzzing came back. And with it, the corridor. I don't remember falling asleep. But I remember waking up. Not in the hospital. In a hallway. Endless. Monochrome. Like an abandoned hotel, with wallpaper that once held color but gave it up centuries ago. The air smelled like old prayer books, dust, wax, and time. Doors lined both sides. Identical. Unmarked. But each one hummed. Like a tuning fork struck softly. I was barefoot. Dressed in hospital clothes. But I wasn't afraid. Not yet. The first door opened on its own. Inside, a woman sitting at a kitchen table, sobbing silently, rocking back and forth. A photo of a small boy in her hand. The boy's eyes were bright, but wrong somehow. Too wise. Too sad. The voice came again. Not from the hall. From inside me. She remembers what it cost. The door slammed. Second door. A man on a rooftop, staring at a skyline that pulsed like a dying heart. He whispered something over and over. I leaned in. I could almost hear it. There's no justice. Only wait. Third door. Empty. Just a mirror. And in it, me. But not as I was. Older. Worn. My eyes were full of things I hadn't seen yet, but already regretted. I looked tired in a way that no sleep could fix. I touched the glass. It was warm. You asked why the good suffer, said the voice. You assumed there was such a thing. That broke me. I sank to the floor. Because it wasn't just a statement, it was a surgical strike into the lie I'd lived. All my life I'd measured morality by absence. Didn't cheat. Didn't steal. Didn't hit. As if not doing evil was the same as being good. But in that corridor, goodness wasn't passive. It was price. And I had never paid it. I don't know how long I sat there. There was no time. Only realization. I wasn't in a dream. I wasn't hallucinating. I was in a threshold. A place between the seen and the true. The fourth door opened behind me. Not pushed. Invited. And what waited beyond it was not meant for the living. The fourth door led into a garden. Or something that wanted to look like a garden. The air was thick, not humid, not hot, but dense. Like breathing through fabric soaked in perfume and rot. The sky above was a bruised violet, swirling slowly like an oil slick. Trees stretched unnaturally tall, their trunks smooth and black as obsidian, their leaves a color I couldn't name, somewhere between green and ash. And it was silent. Not quiet. Silent. As if the concept of sound had never been invented here. At the center of it all stood a man. Or what I thought was a man. He wore no clothes, but he wasn't naked. He was covered in symbols, thousands of them, etched into his skin like scars carved with intention. Some looked ancient, some mathematical, some utterly alien. His back was turned to me. But I knew he knew I was there. He spoke without turning. This is where the ones who ask too much come. You are not the first. I couldn't speak. My throat wouldn't form sound. But something inside me formed the thought. What is this place? The place between mercy and memory. The garden before the lie of comfort. Before man decided pain had no meaning. I stepped closer. The ground crunched underfoot, not with leaves, but with teeth. Human. Animal. Tiny, shattered. Like seeds. I looked up and realized the trees didn't bear fruit. They bore faces. Half-formed, dreaming, their mouths open in silent screams. I turned to run. But there was no exit. The man turned. And I saw that his face was mine. Not exactly. More. It was my face if I had never turned away. If I had followed every buried question to its horrible end. He looked wise, yes, but broken. And endless. You asked why good people suffer, he said. Because they are the only ones who can. The wicked are too hollow. They echo pain but cannot hold it. But the good carry weight. They become the wound. I shook my head. Tears burned in my eyes. But why? Why allow it? He stepped closer. His eyes, my eyes, were full of stars that had already died. Because pain is the only language that echoes into the eternal. Joy fades. Pleasure is swallowed. But pain carves. And through that carving, the divine recognizes itself. He reached out his hand. His fingers were long. Burned. Covered in ash. You may return. But only with the knowing. And knowing is not safe. I took his hand. And everything split. The trees cracked like ribs. The sky screamed. The garden folded in on itself and I fell, not down, but inward through tunnels of gold and blood and sound. I saw flashes of lives I hadn't lived. Faces I hadn't met. Pain I hadn't earned. A girl drowning in a bathtub. A man clawing at a locked church door. A child staring at a coffin too small for the word there. And then I woke up. Back in the hospital. A nurse screaming. Alarms blaring. They said my heart had stopped for 3 minutes. 3 minutes. But I had been gone for centuries. And when I looked in the mirror, my eyes were not just mine anymore. Something had followed me back. They discharged me 3 days later. The doctor said it was a miracle. That kind of word used to comfort me. Now it just sounds lazy. No one could explain what happened. My heart stopped, they brought me back, and now I was okay. No brain damage. Vitals stable. I was medically fine. But I wasn't. Because I couldn't unsee the truth. When I left the hospital, I noticed something almost immediately. People's faces had changed. Not in shape, not in expression, in depth. Like I could see beneath them. As if everyone was wearing glass skin, and underneath was a second face, older, worn, truer. Most of them looked tired. Exhausted, like they'd been fighting wars no one else could see. A barista at the cafe near my house had eyes like dried paper. She smiled, but something behind her was screaming. I could hear it. No one else noticed. I tried to bring it up once. With Marcus, my friend since college. A guy who once dropped acid in Death Valley and claimed to meet his inner wolf. I figured if anyone could understand, it was him. We sat at his place, drinking cheap whiskey and watching the snow fall. So you're saying, he asked slowly, you saw God? I didn't answer. Not exactly. Because whatever that presence was, it wasn't the God I was taught to picture in Sunday school. It wasn't comforting. It wasn't warm. It was truth, pure and unfiltered. Like staring directly into your own soul with no filters, no illusions, no stories to hide behind. I saw something, I said. It wasn't a being. It was a boundary. Between what we are, and what we refuse to become. Marcus blinked. You've changed, man. I smiled. So has everything else. He changed the subject. Back to sports. Stocks. Safe things. But later that night, as I walked back to my car, I saw him again. Not Marcus. Him. The figure from the corridor. Me but not me. Standing on the corner across the street, perfectly still under the flickering streetlight. Same eyes. Same symbols. Same presence. He didn't move. He didn't need to. I understood. The one who speaks truth must also carry its consequences. The next morning, I found a letter taped to my front door. No address. No name. Just a piece of yellowed paper folded perfectly in half. Inside, in handwriting that looked far too familiar. Now that you see, will you dare to speak? Or will you rot in the silence like the rest? The remembered. I didn't know what it meant. Not then. But it shook me. That same day, I started seeing others. People who saw me the way I now saw them. A woman on the train, sitting perfectly still with tears running down her face. A man in the park, staring at the sun until his eyes watered. We didn't speak. But we knew each other. We were the ones who remembered. And the world around us, didn't want us alive. It started with dreams again. But now they weren't just mine. I would close my eyes and wake in places I'd never seen, yet felt deeply familiar. A child's bedroom with wallpaper peeling in the shape of open mouths. A hospital hallway with doors that wouldn't stop breathing. A chapel full of mannequins, each one weeping blood into cracked hymnals. Each time, I wasn't watching, I was inside someone. Living fragments of pain that didn't belong to me. Or maybe, they did now. The line had been crossed. The cost of seeing wasn't just vision. It was inheritance. One night, I saw a woman in her 80s burying letters beneath a willow tree in the pouring rain. She whispered names as she dug. Matthew. Sarah. Jonah. Forgive me. Another night, I stood in front of a mirror and watched myself rot. Skin peeling like paper. Teeth blackening. But my reflection smiled as it died. Every time I woke, a new mark had appeared on my arm. Small at first. Almost invisible. But they were the same symbols as the man in the garden. I stopped trying to wash them off. They weren't on my skin. They were beneath it. And then, I got the second letter. This one burned at the edges. As if it had tried to destroy itself and failed. The ones who suffer are not cursed. They are the vessels. Pain is not punishment. It is the fire in which memory is forged. We are the remembered. And we are calling you. No return address. No name. Just a date. A time. A location, Old Fairview Cemetery, 3:33 a.m. The same hour I used to wake up. The same hour he always watched. I went. Of course I did. The cemetery was ancient, broken headstones, overgrown paths, air thick with wet earth and moth wings. But at the far end, beneath a leaning oak, they stood. 6 of them. Hooded. Silent. Not cult-like, funeral-like. As if they were burying the world. One stepped forward. A woman. Her eyes were pure black, but full of tears. You've seen it, she whispered. The crack. The corridor. The cost. I nodded. Then you must decide. Return to the lie? Forget. Fade. Or carry the fire. And be hunted by every comfort-loving coward this world has ever made. I didn't answer right away. Because the truth is, I wanted to forget. I wanted to go back. To screens and takeout and long weekends. But something inside me, the part that stood in the garden, wouldn't let me. I remember, I said. The woman reached into her robe and handed me something. A mirror. But not one that reflected. It absorbed. It drank light. It hummed with memory. I looked into it. And I saw you. Yes, you reading this. The hunger in your eyes. The ache in your ribs. The questions you keep burying beneath busyness and bills. I saw that you have seen it too, in fragments. A flicker in the sky. A voice that wasn't yours. A pain too sharp to be random. And I want you to know. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You've just started to remember. So now I ask you what they asked me. Will you carry the fire? Because once you say yes, there's no going back. And the sky will never look the same again.